He started from the pit lane last, alone, with a car rebuilt overnight and finished second. What Max Verstappen did in Brazil wasn't just a comeback, it was a declaration of supremacy. After the worst qualifying of his career, he stood calm while chaos unfolded ahead. No excuses, no panic, just pure focus. This was the Max Verstappen who turns setbacks into statements, who thrives when the odds collapse around him. So how did he transform a broken car, a puncture, and a 20-second gap into one of the most dominant recovery drives in modern Formula One history? Stay right here, because we're about to break down the race that left Red Bull astonished, McLaren under pressure, and the world reminded that Max Verstappen doesn't just win, he redefines what winning means. The atmosphere at Interlagos that Sunday morning was electric, heavy with anticipation and disbelief. Just 24 hours earlier, Red Bull had suffered its worst qualifying session in nearly 2 decades. Verstappen's RB21, normally a precision instrument, had behaved like a wild animal, unstable, unpredictable, and utterly uncompetitive. 16th on the grid. For any other driver, that would have been the end of the story. But for Verstappen, it became the spark of something extraordinary. Overnight, Red Bull made the boldest call possible: brake park firm, rebuild the car from scratch, and accept a pit lane start. They changed the floor, reset the suspension geometry, swapped in a brand new Honda engine, and gave Verstappen one final weapon: a car designed for war, not survival. As the lights went out, Verstappen waited in the pit lane, the loneliest place in Formula One. Ahead of him, 20 cars charged into the Senna S while he watched from a distance, helmet down, visor low. The moment the green light flashed, he launched forward like a coiled spring. 20 seconds behind. No tow, no reference, no traffic to chase. Just Max, the car, and his instincts. And yet, within minutes, the timing screens began to light up with purple sectors. The RB21 was alive again. The overnight rebuild had transformed it from unpredictable chaos into a machine that listened to his every command. The pace was relentless, the commitment absolute. Each braking zone was a message: I'm back. Then came the storm. A front right puncture on lap 13 forced him into an early stop, dropping him back to last again. But rather than break his rhythm, it unleashed something primal in Verstappen. From that point on, he attacked with surgical precision. Albon, Alonso, Lawson, they fell one after another. His overtakes were not desperate, they were deliberate, like an artist carving lines on asphalt. The crowd, aware of what they were witnessing, began to rise with every pass. Interlagos has seen champions rise before, but this was different. This was dominance born from desperation. What made it breathtaking wasn't just the speed, it was the control. Verstappen wasn't reckless, he was calculating. He managed his tires, balanced his fuel, and extracted every fraction of grip from a setup that had barely existed 12 hours earlier. Red Bull's risk had turned into a masterpiece. From the pit lane to the midfield, the telemetry told the story of perfection under pressure: every lap faster, every move cleaner. It was as if he'd been driving that car for months, not hours. By lap 30, Verstappen's charge had become the story of the race. The pit wall went silent. There was no need for instructions. Lambiassi's voice was calm, almost reverent. They both knew what was happening, the kind of comeback that gets replayed for decades. And as Verstappen continued his ascent, one thing became clear to everyone watching: this wasn't luck, this wasn't circumstance. It was pure, distilled brilliance. The weekend had gone wrong long before the race even began. From the very first practice laps on Friday, Verstappen could feel something deeply off with the RB21. The rear wouldn't settle, the front refused to bite, and the car seemed to twist itself through every braking zone. The usually precise and obedient Red Bull felt unstable, wild, unpredictable. Verstappen described it bluntly over the radio: it's dancing everywhere. Those 3 words sent a chill through the garage. Every attempt to stabilize the setup only made things worse. By Saturday morning, it was clear that Red Bull had lost control of their own creation. Qualifying confirmed the nightmare. Verstappen was out in Q1 on pure pace, no mechanical issue, no rain, no penalties. Just a car that didn't work. It was a moment so rare that even veteran engineers stood in disbelief. The telemetry showed a driver fighting every corner, sliding through the Senna-S, and losing tenths where he normally gains them. For a man who had dominated Formula One for 4 consecutive years, this wasn't a setback, it was humiliation. The Dutchman climbed out of the car, face unreadable, voice tight with disbelief. He told reporters it was simply bad. I couldn't push. The car was everywhere. No grip at all. Inside the Red Bull garage, the atmosphere was heavy, tense. Mechanics avoided eye contact, engineers stared at screens filled with meaningless data. Gianpiero Lambiase, Verstappen's race engineer, kept his tone steady but his words sharp. The car was lost. That night, Red Bull team principal Laurent Mekies and the engineering leadership faced a brutal truth: they had nothing to lose. Staying with that setup meant a slow, painful Sunday. But taking the ultimate risk meant starting from the pit lane. So, they decided to tear everything down and rebuild. The choice to break park firm wasn't just technical, it was psychological. It meant admitting failure in front of the entire paddock, and yet, it also meant freedom. By choosing the pit lane start, Red Bull could do what no one else could: redesign the car without restriction. New power unit. New suspension geometry. Old floor spec. A complete reset. The garage became a hive of urgency and belief, mechanics working through the night under harsh fluorescent lights, the sound of air guns echoing like thunder. By sunrise, the RB21 wasn't the same machine that had humiliated them hours earlier. It was reborn. A car rebuilt for attack, tailored entirely to Verstappen's driving style: low rear ride height, aggressive front rotation, and the brutal efficiency of a brand new Honda engine. Red Bull hadn't just fixed a problem, they had reignited a monster. That Saturday night, the Red Bull garage turned into something between a laboratory and a battlefield. Mechanics stripped the RB21 down to its bare carbon shell, each bolt and panel removed under the unblinking fluorescent lights of Interlagos. The team worked with the urgency of surgeons performing a life-saving operation. Every adjustment was calculated, every decision debated in whispers and data sheets. They weren't just changing parts, they were rewriting the car's DNA. Out went the Mexico spec floor that had cost Verstappen balance and downforce, and in came the older Austin configuration, a version Max trusted. It offered less peak speed, but far greater stability. Stability was the only thing he needed to unleash his precision. The biggest change came at the heart of the car, a brand new Honda power unit. Fresh, untamed, and brimming with energy. It wasn't just horsepower, it was a message. Honda's engineers, working hand in hand with Red Bull powertrains, had given Verstappen a weapon: the full power of a clean internal combustion cycle, untouched and ready to roar. The risk was massive. New engines carry unpredictable variables: heat, fuel mapping, torque response. But if it worked, the advantage would be decisive. The RB21 would accelerate faster out of every corner and sustain that power longer down Interlagos' long straights. Breaking park firm also meant one crucial gift: freedom. Red Bull could now fine-tune every setting: brake balance, differential preload, and suspension stiffness. The team reverted to a setup that mimicked Verstappen's preferred aggressive front-end bite and minimal understeer. He wanted the car to pivot sharply into corners, even if it meant flirting with instability. That's how Max drives on the edge, in perfect tension between chaos and control. By dawn, the RB21 looked like a machine reborn, lower, meaner, and perfectly aligned with his instincts. When the pit lane opened on Sunday, Verstappen climbed into the car with an expression that told the story: not anger, not hope, but focus. He knew this was his moment. As the race began and the field disappeared into turn 1, he sat in silence, waiting for the green light to release him. And when it came, he launched like a bullet, the car leaping to life beneath him. The telemetry immediately showed what the team had hoped for: near-perfect traction, cleaner throttle application, and faster straight-line speed than both Mercedes cars ahead. By lap 5, Verstappen had already picked off half the backmarkers. By lap 10, he was running in the top 10. The pit wall couldn't believe the pace they were seeing. Gianpiero Lambiase came on the radio: "Max, your pace is very strong. Keep doing what you're doing." Verstappen's reply was short: "Copy." He didn't need encouragement, he needed clean air. Then came the setback. Lap 13. A front right puncture. Instantly, Verstappen dived into the pits, no hesitation, no complaint. He switched to medium tires and rejoined last. Most drivers would have deflated along with that tire, but Verstappen's lap times did the opposite. With clean air and a perfect setup beneath him, he began his second charge. Sector by sector, he found tenths no one else could. Red Bull's gamble had worked. The rebuilt RB21 wasn't just competitive, it was dominant. Verstappen wasn't wrestling the car anymore, he was commanding it. Every turn-in, every throttle input, was clean, deliberate, precise. Red Bull had built him the tool, and Verstappen was now carving through the field like a man possessed.